How's it going, guys? Peshcat's here with Neel, and today we're going to be talking about Dal Segno and the Capo's card of days for the last week plus 1 day, because they gave us one card of the day the last Thursday, and I don't know anything about the Capo, so I brought on Neel. He plays this set. He plays the Capo, and he's going to be the one helping me out with some of the card interactions for some of the older cards while we go through and review this week's card of the day reveals. So,
Prepare for memes.
yeah, there's always room for memes. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all of the Dal Segno cards first, and then we're going to go on to the Capo cards after we've finished all of the Dal Segno stuff. So we can talk about all this stuff independently. If it has some like interaction with the Capo, then we can address that as well. But for the most part, it's looking like Dal Segno is a standalone set. So we're going to go ahead and get this out of the way first. So the first card we have on screen is a 2-1 Himari. She has a Kazana Island trait and hat, which Kazana Island being the central trait for the Dal Segno stuff, and this is what's going to set it apart from the Capo, since the Capo doesn't have any relation to the Kazana Island trait. So she has two abilities. First one lets her be early dropped at level 1 if you have a 1-0 Himari in your level zone, which is the card after this. And she has a climax combo with Wind. When you play it, if she's in front row, search your deck for a Kazana Island character. So this is potentially a 1-1, since you can early play it, but at the same time, compared to like a 1-0 combo, which I don't think we've seen yet, this is probably not what you're going to want to be playing for your advantage combo.
Definitely agree. I think this card is pretty whatever. You know, how, like, I agree with what you said. Why clock a 1-0 when you could just play a 1-0?
And the 1-0 is like, it's pretty serviceable as a beater too. I mean, like, that's the whole role of that card.
Well, I actually kind of find the 1-0 just as good as 2-1, except it doesn't search, and it's 1-0, and it's costless.
I think the fact that it's costless might be just a good point on its own. We haven't gone far enough into reveals yet to see if there's like some level 1 combo that's going to be worth running over this. So for now, it does seem like a pretty mediocre card, but at the same time, there might not be anything better to run.
Mm-hmm. I just want to point out that Dal Segno is only getting 77 cards instead of like a full expansion.
I believe
so...
I believe it's 78 for Dal Segno, 32 for the Capo. If I'm,
I thought it was 77-33.
yeah, close enough, but like,
yeah,
Dal Segno's getting a majority of the set.
yeah. So so far, like, just seeing this card, if this really is the card, like later on, if when we see some of the future releases, if this really is the card that we have to run for searching, then we know this is gonna be worse than DC3.
Just automatically.
Just automatically, just by playing this card.
Okay, so next we have the 1-0. This is the one that you need in clock to early summon the 2-1. So it's a 1-0-5K. When you play it, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a Kazana Island character, then this gets plus 1500 power until the end of the opponent's turn. So 6-5 costless beater, pretty good. Already outclasses the other cards with a similar ability that's like on play gains 1500 until end of turn, because this one gets to be 65 during the opponent's turn as well. And you also get to check top card of your deck. Sometimes you miss, so you end up with a 5K, but at the same time, you get to check your trigger no matter what. And you can play this late game as a trigger check as well.
Now, I want to say that trigger check isn't as important into Capo because we have Playing in the Creek. And Playing in the Creek is busted.
And you can play Playing in the Creek in the Dal Segno deck as well, so
Yeah,
it can be relevant there.
Yeah, I think they're reprinting it in the boxes.
Yeah,
Because they're combining it.
I think it's like a box topper or something, and it's like a foil version. So that'll be pretty easy to get.
I think that's what it is. But you know, I think the top check event, like the top check is still like good. It's just not as good in this set because there's Playing in the Creek, and obviously you'd rather play Playing in the Creek and decide what you want your trigger to be. Like you could even do Playing in the Creek, put 2 cards back on top of your deck, and then play this because you're already gonna know what the hell is gonna be on top.
Yeah. Although at the same time, like 6-5 beater, that's pretty good.
It is. It's much better than the last card.
And if blue is looking like a central color in Dal Segno, then playing in the creek definitely going to be a viable option to use in your deck.
Well, I feel like blue is always just in general viable because there's anti-damage counter, which we'll get to later, and playing in the creek. So
This is
it's just
true.
those two. Yeah, those two cards make blue always viable into Capo.
All right. So next up, we have a blue card. I think this is the only. This is one of like 3 blue cards that we've seen so far for Dal Segno. So this is a 0/0 Ame. When you play her, you give a Kazana Island character plus 1k other than herself. And when you play a climax, you can bounce her back to your hand to give a character 2k. This is kind of an interesting card. You can already see my thoughts on screen. That's pretty much all I could come up with. I'm sure there's some other combo that would allow this card to be more useful, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. I was talking to Alvin, and he was telling me like all the like notable brainstorms for DCDS so far are like tap 1, tap self. So like this doesn't really help with that at all.
Yes, I think it's because the power level in Capo is so low right now that they decide like, and most of the Capo cards that are brainstormers are only brainstormers. They don't have like a secondary effect on them, so they usually tend to be tap 1 over tap 2.
So
But
how do you think this card would be used then?
I think this card is serviceable depending on what we see in the future. Like if we see on reverse, like some on reverse combos, um, then I think this card's gonna be much better because you're gonna play this in the back row, you're gonna buff something, and then you're gonna have 3 copies of your on reverse, and then you're gonna play your climax, you're gonna bounce this back to your hand, and then you're gonna give 2k to something to buff it up enough to get your on reverse effect off.
Yeah, that seems reasonable enough. So, well, even if it's not an on reverse combo, just like getting extra power could be just a good enough reason to possibly play this card. And so far, we haven't seen any other really color fix for blue, or too much color fix for blue. So this could be useful.
I also want to say that it could help you get over 3/2 TP Rin, which is probably the most broken early drop in the game right now. It could get you. It could help you get over that.
It's definitely up there. Okay, but as far as like resting this character for like some sort of rest to effect, does anything come to mind, or not really?
Not really. I don't. Not from what I remember. Uh, yeah, not really.
All right, we'll just go on to the next one then. So here we have a 0/0 Hazuki. She's Kazana Island and Student Council, and an important note is that she has Student Council President, Seito Kaicho, in the name, which, from what I understand, is specific search in the Capo. Like, it searches for specifically Seito Kaicho in the name, right?
Yeah, there's a. Sorry, if I'm interrupting you, but there's a 0/0 in Decapa 3 that's pay 1, tap itself, clock a card, search for a card that says Satakai no Kaicho in its name. So the fact that you can search a brainstorm off that card now makes this card like super relevant.
Yeah. So as far as the effects, so if you have 5 more stock, it becomes a global 5, and it's not trait restricted. If it was trait restricted to like Kazana Island, then that would make this card a lot worse in a Da Capo deck. But because it's not trait restricted, you can run this card comfortably in Da Capo to serve as your brainstorm, as well as being a power buff if you get to that 5 or more stock point. And the brainstorm's clock swap. Clock swap, not exactly the greatest brainstorm, but I mean, like, you'll take what you get, I guess.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd still play this even if the Global 500 was only to Kazana Island characters, just because it has Satakai no Kaicho in its name and its Student Council.
All right, seems fair enough.
Right. Yeah, because the for people who don't know, the other card, the only brainstormer you usually play in Student Council was a 0/0 Sara that had Magic and Sports as its traits, so it was totally off trait from the deck. And the Capo focused too heavily on traits, like at least the older sets. The new set, like the Dal Segno stuff, they're like doing what they did with the past sets, or like more recent sets, where they focus on one trait and then everything else has like an extra trait on it.
So this is like a perfect fit then, basically.
Yeah, it is, because you could now search it with Zetakai with 0/0 Rika.
All right, cool. Okay, next we have a student council card that's not so good. That's 2/1 Hazuki. For every other copy of this, it gets 1k. And then Climax combo with the Green Stock Soul. When you play the Climax, search your deck for a copy of this and play it to the stage. This is not worth running.
There's a 2/1 Rika 9k. If you have two or more in memory, that's better than this card.
Is that card considered good?
Much better than this card.
Is it considered good though?
It's considered like decent.
All right, this card sucks.
This card is really bad. Stock Soul doesn't even help its case.
All right, let's move on. You get two 2/0/8/5s. How worth that is, it's not really worth, because they're not doing anything other than just being 8/5s. And if one of them dies, then it's not even 8/5s anymore. This is just not worth running. Don't play this, please.
Please.
Okay, next up we have the 3/2 Himari. This is one that was spoiled on the main site and ended up becoming a card of the day. So on play, check up to 6 of the top of your deck. Send 3 of them to waiting room and put the rest back on top. So this is the same effect as like Nozomi and Ilya. Lets you confirm your triggers, or for this deck it's a little bit more relevant because it lets you confirm your top decks for other abilities like the Restander that's coming up next. Up to twice per turn when you play another Kizana Island character, this gets 1k power, and on attack you can pay 2 to reveal the top card of your deck. Oh, no. You reveal the top card of your deck first, and then if it's a Kizana Island character, you pay 2 and then you heal 1.
I think this card's pretty good, like in a sense that if you could keep it alive and there's no anti-heal in the game, which we all know Kantai is kind of running rampant around here, so there's almost always anti-heal in the game. But if you're like locals, doesn't have an anti-heal in the game, this card could be like really serviceable because you can stay at level 3 for almost ever with this card. You'll just pay 2 heal 1, pay 2 heal 1, and if you can keep it alive, it makes it even better.
If you're able to like have enough stock to like sustain with like this plus money, that could potentially be some pretty good end game value. But at the same time, I think that's pretty high stock usage for that.
It is.
Like that's all like come together.
It is, but they had a card like this in Capo, like the original Capo, not Dal Segno. It's a 3/2 Anzu that goes in Student Council, and it's on play heal instead of top check 6. But I definitely think top check 6 is much more serviceable than just the on play heal, on attack pay to heal. Because in the other deck you have multiple on play heals, and that card just helped you stay at level 3 at the end and just helped you out survive your opponent. What this card does, but this card has much more uses thanks to the other cards that were released, like the 3/2 Restander that we're gonna see after this.
All right, so let's get to that Restander. All right, so we have the 3/2 Noeri, Kazana Island, and Family. So for each of your other Kazana Island characters, she gets 500. With a full board, she reaches 12k. And during the turn she's placed on stage from hand, if she reverses a battle opponent up to once per turn, you mill the top card of your deck, and if that card has a soul trigger icon, you stand this for no cost.
Yeah, it's risky. Like if you have 2 of these on the board, and you just played them blind, it's you're risking something, but it could pay off really heavily.
And a couple of the notes I put here. There's a 3/2 Yume from the Capo 1/2 extra booster, I think. And
I think so.
And it's on play. You look at the top 4 cards and rearrange them in any order. So if you play these in the same deck, then you can look at the top 4 cards of your deck. If you see 2 soul triggers, then you just arrange it in a way that you can play 2 of this Restander and then get 2 Restands.
Yeah, my only problem with it is that I think that Yume is just magic trait, if I remember correctly, magic and maybe some other trait. And I'm assuming that Kazana Island will only like work around Kazana Island cards. Like this card will obviously work around like milling just a soul trigger, but to grab that Yume, you won't be able to salvage it, or you won't be able to search it, because I'm assuming that the Dal Segno cards will only search Kazana Island.
Well, I mean, like we could also see like if Gates become the best climax choice for this deck. then you might just like throw this in anyway, because you can salvage it off of
Uh,
your gate.
yeah, I can see that. There is a spammable salvage brainstorm in the last extra booster that came out, so you could always use that.
Is it trait? It's not trait restricted.
No, it's just pay 1, mill 4, salvage this card. So
Okay. All right. Cool. But yeah, this card's pretty interesting. If you're playing it blind, it's obviously pretty unreliable. Um, like we mentioned earlier, there's lots of cards that can help you out with stacking the top of your deck. You have the 3/2 Yume, you have the healer Himardi that we just looked at, and you also have Playing in the Creek. So,
and my
yeah.
problem right now is that I can't really tell how good these cards are going to be until I see some more of the newer cards, because we don't know how good the newer cards are going to be and what they're going to revolve around. So
Yeah. Like, we definitely need to see a level 1 combo for Dal Segno.
yeah, maybe like some good zeros as well, like a searcher, sort of brainstormer or something.
Well, I mean, like, we have the Clock Swap Brainstorm already, so...
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, so next we have this 1/1 Noeri. She's a 1/1 7k, and if you have 2 or more other Kazana Island characters, she becomes a 7/5 with Hand Encore. On play, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a climax, rest this. With some of the other stuff in the Capo that lets you help fix the top cards of your deck, like the earlier mentioned Playing in the Creek, this might not be a problem. You play Playing in the Creek into like Brainstorm, and at the same time you get to confirm a top check for this, make sure it's like not a climax or something like that.
Yeah, I think usually if the combo would go with you play in the creek and then you'll put 2 cards on top of your deck, usually the bottom card of the 2 cards you put back on top of your deck will be a climax.
Yeah.
And then you could play this top check, hit, make sure you don't get rested, and then you could you could do as many times as you have stock, and then you could brainstorm and then plus off of it. So play in the creek, good card, boys.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a lot of stuff in this set that like Playing the Creek is gonna help out a lot with, so you need the top checks. But like I said, like I says there though, like if you have a 0/0 with a rest demerit, then that's much less impactful than if you have a level 1 with a rest demerit. So that does bring this card down quite a bit if you do end up missing.
I still feel like this card won't be played once we see some of the better stuff from the set. I think we've only seen 1 or 2 of the double R's in the set so far.
We've seen... Actually, I don't know how the double R's are going to be distributed for this set, because it's split into basically 2 sets. So that's going to be kind of weird.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to assume they'll give you probably one of color from one side and 1 color from the other side, or maybe it'll just be random, like it was in the OG, CG1, where they gave you like 5 different double R's and it was like totally random.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have this bad card. It's really funny, but it's really bad. Yeah, this is just bad.
Can't even explain it. It's just bad.
Do you have any thoughts on this? I just think it's bad.
I would take it and I'd burn it with a lighter.
Well, you don't have to do that. I mean, she's cute, but this card is just bad.
If I had more than 4 of them, I'd definitely burn them with a lighter.
Oh.
For the god to give us another Capo set.
Sadness. Okay. Yeah, I've said all I need to say about this card. Okay. Now we have the card that people were trying to use as an excuse to say that the 0/0 wasn't as bad, but it's still bad. So this 2/1 alarm, if this is on top of your clock and you have 2 or more Kazana Island characters at the start of your climax phase, choose one of your characters, stand it, and give that character plus 2k until the end of the turn. So some people were like, oh man, you get a 0/0 jokes.
Oh man, this card does not justify how bad that card is.
Oh, this card's not even like really that great on its own. So
no, it's not. It's if we're going off of Kazana Island, then we don't know anything that rests. Like, I don't know how you're gonna miss a top check when you have Playing the Creek at level 1. Like, there's almost no way you should be missing top checks with Playing in the Creek in the deck. And if you're not playing the Creek, I think you're making a huge mistake because playing the Creek is one of the most insane events in this game.
And that's why it's
And
banned in
look at
standard.
yeah, and it's not banned in Neo standard because I think it is actually with one set.
No,
I think there's 2 sets that got it.
there's two sets. It's the Capo and My Hime, and neither one is limited at all.
Okay, but
But yeah, wait. So okay, so from a Da Capo perspective, because I don't play it obviously, how many playing in the creeks would you run? Do you run a full set or do you run like three?
no, I feel full set's too much. I'd run 3. I run 3 in my decks because I feel like a full set just clogs your hand way too often. Like, this is a card you want to see. No, it's a card you do not want to see every turn for 5 turns. Or, well, it is, but you don't want to see 3 copies in your hand every turn, so. Because it takes up room for other cards.
I guess, but I mean, like you could like play a playing in the creek. You draw 2 cards. You top deck 2 playing in the creeks, and then you just like brainstorm
Oh,
or like trigger
man,
them off or
no.
something.
Well, majority of the time you want to put a Climax back on top of the deck because you just brainstorm and plus off of it.
This is
rather
true.
than Yeah, rather than putting 2 playing the creeks back on top of the deck, and then milling those 2 playing the creeks away for no reason.
No, it's okay, dude. The climax is like the 3rd or 4th card,
Oh
and then you
man,
brainstorm.
don't remind me. I have horror stories of playing in the creek and brainstorming.
All right. So
Like,
so anyways, we've gone a bit off topic. This card's bad.
this card is bad. The last 2 cards shown are just horrible.
This
I'm
card
sorry.
this card is bad. The card before it is bad. Don't play them unless you really want a meme. All right. Now we have some good cards.
Good cards.
Some actually
Okay.
good cards. So first off, we're gonna talk about the 1/0 Ame in the front, Kazan Island and Science. On play, you can discard a card to salvage a Paradise system from your waiting room to your hand, and both of the cards that are behind her, the 1/1 events, are both called Paradise system, so you can salvage either one. Obviously, like Nisekoi Pendants, you can only run a total of 4 copies in your deck between the two. There might be more Paradise systems, we don't know yet. Anyways, so free discard outlet, which is pretty cool. And when she attacks, if you have any cards in your memory, then for the turn, she gets plus 500 times the number of Kazana Island characters on your stage, including yourself. So she can go up to 7k.
To talk about this card, I think we need to talk about the events as well. Like, I know they're coming up after, but I think this card standalone, like, if depending on what the events are, you might play this card. We don't know what the other 2 events are, if there's going to be 2 more events. But I think this card could be playable depending on how good those events are.
I think one thing that should be noted is I don't think Dal Segno has any memory effects outside of these events so far. So
Yeah.
if you're playing mono Dal Segno, you're going to be pretty reliant on having these events out in your memory zone. And just based on the way the cards work, since they go back to your waiting room, it might not actually be as great as we think, because you'll lose your attack buffs if the event goes off. But at the same time, I think so far it's pretty playable. Just off the fact that it's a free discard outlet. It's also on color with like money playing in the creek. But at the same time, you are playing like a crap ton of events if you do that.
Yes, and historically, events become an issue if you play too many in Capo because there's a lot of top check stuff. Like, so those rare times where you don't have playing in the creek and you top check, you usually fail, or well, I usually fail, and it sucks ass a lot.
All right, so let's go on to the Paradise systems themselves. So this is the yellow version. So when you play it, you send it to memory, and then while it's in memory, if you eat 3 or more damage, you may send it back to your waiting room from memory, and then you search for 2 Kazana Island characters from your deck, put a card in your hand into stock, and then shuffle your deck. So it ends up being stock positive, hand positive as well, because you play the event, you also send 1 to stock, and you're getting 2 from your deck. So it ends up being like a delayed search to discard 1 on a 1/0 event. in
I see this card. Oh, go ahead.
in exchange for eating 3 or more damage.
I see this card as interest when someone owes you interest, and they're like paying you interest. You know, when you lend them money. That's how I see this card because when you finally get paid back that money, you get to search 2 cards in a sense, or you get more money than you usually would. Basically, let's see plus.
Okay. My main problem with this event is that because it's basically like you loaning it out, you don't have anything while this card is out. You're not getting any immediate value out of it. In fact, you're not even guaranteed to get value out of it ever, technically. So you're just you're not doing anything actively when you play this card, and I don't feel like it does enough to justify using this card for what it does.
Going to memory is huge. Like that free compression when he goes to memory is huge. I don't know why a lot of people think going to memory is bad. I guess depending on the card, it could be bad, but I thought generally going to memory is good. So I agree with you on the sense that if the payout isn't really too high if you can't get it off, but I feel that this card will always come off at level 3 at least, and it'll be in your usually in your memory at least until level 3. But those rare chances where you get hit for 3 in the face, have fun searching for free characters.
I think getting hit for 3 is fairly common. Like you leave an empty slot, your opponent plays climax combo, and then they just they just punch for 3. Sometimes they front for 2 and then they trigger and it becomes 3 and you just take it. But I still think the card is too slow and too unreliable in
Yeah.
how often it's gonna proc.
No, I agree with you on that. I feel like it's gonna be like a pretty whatever card in the end, like pretty whatever to bad card. But I feel like it's interesting how they're trying to make the new Dal Segno cards work in memory.
Yeah. Actually, one thing that was brought up before, as far as how this card is used. So, compare this to like the forest of giant trees in or whatever it's called, the Titan card, Titan event. It's the
that searches?
1/0 event. So you search 2, drop 1, and then it clocks itself. So
Mhm.
I feel like this card is like that, but worse because okay, so you end up stock positive or you end up stock neutral, just like the Force of Giant
Mhm.
Trees, because you don't pay any stock to play it. You end up hand neutral because with the Force of Giant Trees, you play it, you discard a card, but at the same time, that card's giving you immediate impact in that you get the cards that you want immediately to your hand, um, whereas this one doesn't. And the downside for playing Force of Giant Trees, which is you clock the event after you finish resolving it. I feel like that's kind of replicated here, in that
Mhm.
you have to take 3 or more damage for it to work. So I think this is just straight up worse than that. It's slower and less reliable, and I'm really not sure if this is even worth playing, to be honest.
Uh, I don't, from
It's
what we've seen so far,
it's
probably not.
definitely interesting though.
It is interesting. All three of them will proc at the same time if you have 3 of them in the memory when you take 3 damage, right? So they'll all
Yes.
proc at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh man, that could be some serious plus.
That could be some
Like later
serious
on.
compression, I guess.
That would be.
It's kind of weird though.
Alright. Yeah, it is.
I just would rather have had search 2 drop 1, and
I
then
rather would have barrel.
like not even go. I would have rather had search 2 drop 1 and then not even go stock positive.
Yeah, I can see that. I definitely would have rather have that as well. I'd rather have barrel. But I think barrel is already in red in Capo, so if you're playing red in the new set, then you should be able to play barrel. It's an event, so.
And then barrel being check up the top 4, add something to your hand, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So next we have the blue version. We've talked about the yellow version for quite a bit, but now we have the blue one. So this has the same name as the 1/1 event, Paradise System, and either one can be salvaged by the 1/0. So when you play it, send it to memory. When you eat 3 or more damage, if this card is in memory, you may send it back to waiting room. If you do, look it up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, add one of them to your hand, put the rest on top of your deck in any order. So So this card, you do not go stock neutral. You still lose a stock.
Mhm.
But you get to add any card to your hand. So you can add a climax, you can add an event. This could be very useful. And then you get to put the rest on top of your deck in any order. So if you see climaxes, you can prepare them on top of the deck for your opponent's attack, so that you can cancel.
Um, if we're talking about these events, like I think this event, if it wasn't take 3 damage, I think this event would be really good, obviously. But if you really need these events in your memory, and you need to play these events, then that makes that 1-0 kind of whatever now. Now that we think about it more, because you're gonna play these really pretty whatever events to get the power on that 1-0, even though it's still a discard outlet.
I think this one is better than the yellow one. I mean, like, they're both still slow, but at the same time, this one kind of gives you a bit of insurance if you are getting hit. You're getting hit for 3, and you get to look. You basically get to dig through the top 4 cards of your deck for your next cancel. If it's not there, obviously you're just gonna eat it. But you get to dig through the top 4 for. If you have a climax in the top 4, then you're guaranteed going to cancel your opponent's next attack, because you just stack it right back on top. And at the same time, you get to add a card to your hand. Your opponent doesn't even know what card you're adding, because you can choose any kind of card. You don't have to reveal it to your opponent. So I think between the two, this one is the better one, because it allows you to play a bit more flexibly and a bit more defensively as well.
I definitely gonna try this out in my student council deck when I get a chance, or my newspaper deck, because both of them run blue.
Oh
So
yeah, this is also not trait restricted like how the yellow one is, because the yellow one you have to search for Kazan Island. This one you can just add any card.
add whatever.
So you can
Yeah, I'm
actually
definitely gonna try this out.
you can actually run this just without even like the 1-0 that salvages it. You could probably just run this for just this card, but I think you'd have to test a bit because it's kind of questionable.
It is. But depending on testing goes, I might actually just run a copy of this.
All right. Okay, next we have the Capo stuff.
Okay, this is stuff I actually like am confident about. So
Yeah, this card's actually really good. So we have this 1-0 Rika. I don't know the story behind the Capo, but this Rika and the other Rika, the 3-2, they have different name. Like, one of them's written in katakana, the other one's written in kanji, and like in the climax there's 2 Rikas, so I don't know what's going on.
now
But
I don't know the story about this one either. I never played this game, and this never popped up in the in the anime or anything, because this is
this is
an
off the visual
expansion.
novel, yeah.
Yeah, it's like an expansion of the original visual novel. So I definitely don't know about this the Capo, but I can tell you that this card's pretty freaking amazing in Student Council.
Yeah. So when you attack, climax combo with a stock soul, salvage a newspaper or student council character with a level equal or lower than the number of cards in your memory. And having played against a little bit of student council, I can definitely confirm that it's pretty easy to get memory with some of those cards.
Usually in my Student Council deck, I run, I think, 10 cards that go to memory at level 0. 4 of them go to memory for free, and 6 of them go to memory on pay 1. So this card's pretty insane. Well, at least in Student Council. I think a lot of people were hyping it up for newspaper, and I could see why, because it makes newspaper much more playable. But newspaper doesn't really have cards that go to memory. It has a 0-0 Charles that searches for newspaper that goes to memory when it's reversed. That's really it. I don't see much else like in newspaper that goes to memory until level 2. In level 2, personally, I play the 2-1 event where it salvages a student council character, and then it sells itself and another copy of it to memory from waiting room. I think that card's just really good.
That's
But
pretty late to be playing that, though.
yeah, that is really late to be playing this card. So I feel that people are gonna start changing their decks, their newspaper decks around memory, more memory based, and I definitely see that happening now because of this card. This card's just insanely good.
This is also a rare, so good stuff.
Yeah. One more thing about this card, you could like actually play the 1-0 Oi. I'm pretty sure you know what that card is.
You'd have to remind me.
It's the front encore tap pay to refresh.
Oh, okay.
You could play that behind this card. You could salvage, 3 cards, and then you just encore this and do it again if you have the climax.
Hmm.
Like, I see it as a stock building way for newspaper, specifically for newspaper. For student council, you wouldn't do that.
Okay.
But for newspaper, I see it as like a stock builder because newspaper like requires you to build the heavy stock for that 3/2 Charles that we will talk about later.
I feel like the biggest issue with that though is that like this combo doesn't have any power behind it. So this is not killing anything. Well, I mean like I don't know what kind of supports the Capo has, but like from what I'm just seeing here, like this card isn't killing much.
No, it's not killing anything. I guarantee unless you hit level 1 before your opponent and your opponent still has like level 0s on the board, you ain't killing anything.
All right. So pretty good card. Student council deck, maybe newspaper. Now we have the other Rika. So
This is the really good one.
This is Prince.
Yeah.
So when you play this, it gets 500 times number of magic and student council. Oh yeah, so this one's not newspaper, and the other one is. So I don't know what the deal is with that.
I can explain that to you. So usually Rika is considered to be in the unofficial newspaper club, along with all the other 4 characters. But they also all have their like other traits, like they all have magic and everything. So they kind of split it off where if she's like student council president, usually like if she's in her student council president uniform or in her student council uniform, they'll put her as a magic character in at least in the sets, and then like sometimes they'll put her as a newspaper character. It just really depends, usually.
Okay. Well, anyways, this one does not have newspaper. This has magic. So when you play her, she gets 500 times number of magic and student council characters, including herself. So she gets up to 12-5 on a full board. And she has the Prince restand, where once per turn, if you reverse an opponent during the turn this is placed on stage from hand, pay 3, discard 1 to stand this.
I think it's a pretty good card. Do you agree?
Yeah, it seems. I mean, like it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with this card, really. It's just a solid end game card. I would run it for the same reason that people run Prince, except this is even better in that you can get higher power. Because if I remember correctly, the Prince gains power based off your opponent's cost times 1,000, and you also need the marker. So this one does not.
This card, like, so for a long time, the Capo didn't have a finisher, and your only finisher was that really, really shitty 3/2 Charles.
That Charles.
Like, it's a good card, but it's not the best card. And the Capo players understand because the build of stock for that card is a huge feat. But if you are able to pull off the 12 stock dream, then you could potentially just kill your opponent with just restand burn.
12 stock.
So 12 stock is the dream.
What do you need 12 stock for?
You need 10 stock for 2 of the Charles.
Wait, you mean like the gigantic dream?
Yes, that's the gigantic dream.
Okay.
7 stock is for the tiny dream.
Okay. Well, I mean like
because
7 stock you get a Marika.
Yes. She pays for herself, if I remember correctly. This 3/2 Rika, because it's on reverse, then you can pay your cost.
Yeah, so you attack with the other characters first, and then you attack with her last, and then you reverse, and then you restand.
Yeah, 7 stock is like the dream, and then 12 stock is like the wet dream.
Okay. All right, sure. Moving on.
Moving on to other cards.
All right. So next we have this 0/0 Charles. She has a little like the Yukiko effect. I think this was originally on Yukiko. When you reverse a battle opponent, choose one of your other magic or student council characters, rest it, and then move it to the back row if you have an empty slot.
I think it's a pretty good card.
Everybody keeps complaining that Yukiko is like, oh, Yukiko has a downside. You need like stock or something, and I'm just like, that card's not trait restricted. This one is trait restricted.
Is that one really stock costed? I don't remember.
No, it's not stock costed. It's stock conditioned.
Oh, okay.
You need to have like something or more or less stock or something, but it's not trait restricted, which is why that one's 2500. This one's also 2500, but it has a trait restriction, even though the trait restriction is almost irrelevant. Well, actually no.
I actually
Actually no. You tell me, how relevant is this trait restriction?
uh it's absolutely not relevant.
Okay, cool.
It is like legit not relevant. There is a runner. There's a blue runner in the Capo. I think I have the card right in front of me. I think it's
That's the
music and
dudes,
magic.
right?
Yeah, the three. It's music and I forgot the other trait. Uh, I'm too lazy to read it. But you don't have to run that in every deck anymore because you used to run that in every deck because it was the only runner. Now, and you used to run that in Student Council because it helps the blue color out as well. But you don't have to run that in Student Council anymore. You can just run 3 copies of this, and you play this, and you'll play a you can play like the it's a 0/0 one or less other character 1500 power. The Capo has one of those, and you just basically reverse something with that, reverse something with this, and then send that back to your back row, and then this is gonna die anyways. So
Wait. Okay, see, I know there's a card that gives that it's like if it gives 1500 to center. Is that trait restricted? And what trait is that card?
that's Student Council and newspaper, I think,
If
but
it's
it gives Student Council 1500. I had that card somewhere.
Oh, then that would be
I could,
that would be like a great card to run with this because
yeah.
you put this in center. You're 4K. You kill their thing. You move that. I mean, like you attack with that first, and then you kill their middle, and then you move this to back row, and this is still 4K.
Yep.
So
You could do that. That's also a really good combo. You could like there's so many combos you could do with this. Like in Magic, there is a on attack give power, and it has Encore on it, and I think it's an Otome. It's on attack. You give power to a character times 500. I forgot what this thing was, and it has hand Encore on it. You could actually attack with that card, give power to this, and then attack with this, and then move that to the back row.
all right,
So
seems pretty wombo combo. Although like the card effect itself doesn't need to be comboed with anything because it's just solid on its own. So
yeah,
good stuff.
like this card's. I think this card's gonna be pretty. I think this card's gonna be played as a 3 of in Student Council decks. It might be played in Magic because Magic also focuses on stock building until level 2 or 3. So we'll see.
Okay. Next up we have 1/0 now, Kappa.
Kappa.
So this cannot front attack into higher level cards.
You want to know something?
Yeah, sure.
This is the best beater the Capo's gotten.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Really? The other one was a 1/0 Charles that gained 1,000. I think it was a 1/0 5K that gained 1,000 power when you have 3 or more other Student Council characters on the field.
All right, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. This is legit the best beater the Capo has gotten in a long time. There's also a 1/0 that gains 500 for every other, but it's for newspaper.
Okay.
So
Not even
there's no
this.
like
Yeah, not
like,
even
not
this
even
card.
this. Like it's a Rika, but
It's is it a red Rika?
it is a red Rika.
All right, now we figured it out. So all the magic Rikas are yellow, and all the red Rikas are
red.
red.
Or
Newspaper. Is that actually
Yeah.
is that actually how it works? Is that the rule?
Yeah.
Okay.
A majority. I think this breaks it for a couple of cards, but for the most part, that's how it is.
All right, we've cracked the code. All right, so this card is apparently the best beater that the Capo has at level 1.
Currently,
so far. It is a boring demerit, but it is also a bullshit demerit because the amount of times that this comes into play is like honestly not that much right now. Like both Neel and I, we tried Primus with the now level 1, and the amount that comes into play is like almost non-existent. Like half decent player can just play around it very easily.
yeah, like you usually your opponent tries to like get rid of their characters so you can't reverse them for like a plus combo. Well, you just play this card and you're like, what?
It's okay because this deck's plus combo doesn't even need to reverse. You just attack. Yeah, you have
I
to have,
know, right?
and you don't even technically have to have memory because if you have no cards in memory, you salvage level 0. So
Which is still pretty good.
yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't know how good the Capo's level 0 utility is. So
Um, Depends on the deck. Like Student Council has a 0 that gives global encore to all Student Council characters.
mm,
It has a 0 that's on attack, pay 1 mil if it's a level 0 played onto the field.
okay.
That's a good card. But Student Council only. Those are Student Council cards. Newspaper is a little bit more restrictive. The best newspaper card for a 0 is usually the Searcher and a 0/0 beater. That's 6 or more cards in hand, 1500.
Okay. Now we just wait for the Akatsuki clone for newspaper
Oh, I can't
slash
wait!
for student council. I mean, that's
I can't wait.
double R boys.
Double R.
Okay, so next up we have this 0/0 Himeno. So she's a global 5 to magic characters, and her only trait is magic. When you play her on stage from hand, you may switch the bottom card of your clock and a magic character in your waiting room.
So,
Yeah.
Randall knows that if this card is ever seen at Desu or HSI, where we usually play our locals, that he's gonna bring out Kantai right away. That's all.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to put that in the notes, actually. Yeah, this procs anti-heal. When you put a card from your waiting room into the bottom of your clock to switch it with another card, that procs anti-heal, so it gets wrecked. Feels bad.
This card has a lot of like interesting combos because, as Randall put on the thing, it has the 2/1 combo where you could put the 1/1 Anzu on top and then you could just like alarm it off. You could actually put some other stuff on there. You could put another 3/2 Himeno on top, and then you could use like the 3/2 Himeno effect. Yeah, that one. You could use 3/2 Himeno effect, which comes at a level 2 when you play the event, and it lets you pseudo heal. So if you have let's say you have like a climax there, you can just play this card, swap them around with like swap that climax out with another character, and then just play use this 3/2 Himeno and play a free character out and pseudo heal.
That's probably actually really relevant as well. Like if you're getting near your refresh and you're at like X0, then you can just clock a climax and then switch it out with this card so that it gets back into your refresh. That's like a really basic way to use this card. But
it is.
yeah.
I think there's gonna be more ways to use this card. We've only seen one Himeno card, and I'm 110% sure this is not the Himeno sign that's gonna be in the set.
This is an uncommon, so.
Yeah, I'm
Wait.
110% sure.
Okay, I know one character isn't getting assigned. It's Aoi, right?
The 3 characters from the Capo that are getting assigned should be Rika, Himeno, and Sara.
Oh, okay. Oh wait, so Charles isn't getting one either then.
I don't think Charles is getting assigned. I'll have to check. I think from what I read on the paper, it was Himeno, Charles, not Charles. Himeno, Sara, and Rika that are getting the sign cards.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that 3/2 double R is going to be the sign for Rika. And I'm assuming a card that you are not showing on this post today, even though it was leaked, is going to be a sign for Sara.
That one was the draw 2 drop 1 early summon, right?
Yeah, the early summon.
All right. Yeah, we'll review that one when it comes up on card of the day. But anyways, is there anything else you wanted to say about this card, or should we just move on to the restander?
We can move on to the restander because most of the stuff I have to say is mostly on the end thoughts of the set as a whole so far.
All right. So today's previews: 3/2 Sumomo. I have never even heard of this character, but apparently she's in the Capo 3. In the new one.
I don't know because I've never seen this. I've never heard of this character until like I read some of the other older cards and I figured out that she was in like a couple of the past games.
Okay. So anyways, apparently this character likes to be level 0. So when she's on the stage, she gets -3 levels, and she gets plus 1,000 times the level of the character cross. So if she's against level 3, she becomes a 13k. And she also cannot be reversed by opponent's auto abilities. So even though she's level 0, you can't kill her with a level 0 Suicider. Or a level 1 Suicider, or a level 2 Suicider. Or any level Suicider. You just can't kill her with a Suicider. Unless you actually just punch over her, which is very unlikely. Okay, anyways. On play heal, and she is a restander, so she's a healing restander. I can't remember the last time we've seen that.
Mm,
Actually,
was it...
it was actually the last time we saw that was Italia. Now that I think about it,
Where? Wait, what? I'm
the,
sorry.
the last time we saw that was Italia from Kansai 3.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. I couldn't hear you. I had the AC on. Continue.
Okay. So anyways, this card's restand ability is a climax combo. Why did I put slow? That's supposed to say slot. I'm dumb.
Uh,
All right.
Memes.
Okay. Okay. When your character in the front row center slot attacks. Oh yeah. So it's not even a reverse. This is not even a reverse one.
Yeah, it's just attack.
If you have the blue stock soul climax in the climax area, you may pay 3 and discard the 1/0 Sumomo that comes after this. And if you do, stand this card. So this has the same restand condition as the 3/2 LE from Milky Homes, where it's when your center character attacks. So what this means is that you can attack with this on the side, and then it can get reversed, and then you attack with center slot, and then you can stand from reverse. It also means that, based on the way it's worded, it can attack if she's in the center slot, and then you pay 3, discard the card, and then she restands off her own attack. You can do that.
I think this card is insanely good if you get the stock to play it. Like, you know, obviously you're not going to play her in Student Council, but the fact that she doesn't require you to reverse anything to restand her makes her really good. And if you really could pull off the stock, you might be able to. I haven't seen all the chairman and the drama cards, but there might be more drama cards that I missed. I think there are.
I would have to go and check, but like I don't know what the support cards are off the top of my head. I don't know what any of the support cards are. I just know what this is. The cool thing about this is because it gains power based on your opponent's level, the higher stuff that your opponent puts on the board, then the easier this card will be to like kill their stuff, even though it doesn't have to.
Now, I won't be surprised if people just play this in blue in general. Like, if people just like throw this into like Sara decks, like, you know, mono Sara decks, just because they want to finish her.
Oops.
Good background.
Oops, my bad. I didn't mean to do that.
Nah, it's okay. But I really wouldn't be surprised if it just throw us in there because this card is much better when you can play it. Like it's a good restand if you could get the stock for it.
Yeah. I actually think that not being able to, or like your opponent can side attack her for no penalty. Sometimes, like a lot of times, this is just gonna like really not mean too much. In fact, I think the only time this really means anything is if they have like a level 3 with +2 soul combo.
I think it mean a lot because the Capo has a anti-damage counter, and then this lets you just side for free damage.
Oh, that's actually true.
It definitely means.
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that, but like yeah.
Yeah, like I think this means a lot. Like if you don't end the game with this card, you're probably gonna die, is what I see. Because there's no way your opponent's gonna not side attack this. It's level 0, and they're just gonna play like 1 souls, and they're gonna side you for 3 damage to end the game if you're close enough, or if you're This card will die to Katsuhiro, wouldn't it?
Yeah, instantly, because he just pops level 0.
Yeah, like if I was playing as Kisniver, I'd be very scared if I'm playing this card. Hell, I'd be scared if I'm playing any Capo deck against Kisniver right now. That Katsuhiro is just gonna kill everything.
All right, so conclusion card's pretty good. Has some downfall, but it's not a terrible card. And neither is its discard target. Its discard target is definitely not 1/0 Nico. As you can see, isn't 1/0 Nico.
1/0 Nico.
Alright, so this card's actually kind of interesting. So when it's on the stage, it gets -1 level. And it gains 500 for every other level 0 character on your stage. So if you have a full front row of this for whatever reason, they're all buffing each other because they're all level 0s. And then you have 2 0s in your back row. And like if they're both globals, then these are like 1/0, 7, eight fives. I'm not saying that's a good idea. I just thought it'd be funny to mention that.
I don't know what Bushiroad's doing with these cards or levels that are on the field stuff. Like
They're trying to beat Railgun and Index, dude.
this is just. Can't we just make it a level 1 and say make it a 4 or 5 that gains 500 for every other character on the trade on the field?
Sumomo really wanted to be Toma.
God damn.
Oh man.
Oh man. But overall, like I guess it just depends. This card will never get the full buff because you're gonna play the 1-0 Aoi that gives it Encore. So this card will never get the full 2-5 was 2k or 2-5 buff or whatever it is. I think it's 2K.
Does that card give hand Encore based on trait or just gives to everything?
No, it's an assist.
I know. Some assists are trait based.
No. It's just an assist. Give a hand Encore to front.
Oh, okay.
Which is why that card is universally played, even though it's off trait in 90% of the Capo decks. That card's just insane. People find a way to put blue in. People will find a way to fit that card in because to pay 2 free refresh is just way too good.
All right. So we've pretty much talked about everything at this point. You have any thoughts before we head on out? We've been recording for like 56 minutes, almost an hour. So
what? That hasn't even felt like an hour. Okay. My thoughts are, I feel like they should have just given Dal Segno its own set and gave the Capo a power-up set. I feel like they're hindering a lot of the Dal Segno cards because of the Capo card pool. You want to throw your thoughts in on that as well?
I have nothing to say because I don't know what Da Capo does.
Oh well, you know the major cards. You know 2/2 heal event, scary movie counter.
Yeah, those are just good cards though. They're also all
like,
blue. They're also all events.
1-0 Oi.
I guess. I know Sugi. I know Suginami. Suginami's blue.
Oh yeah, Suginami is the only non-trait deck that like do well. I think it's trait. I think it's newspaper trait, but I'll have to check that out. But Suginami's such a troll deck, man. Such a funny deck. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I feel like they're really hindering Dal Segno because they're combining it with the Capo. And if they would have just kept them separate like CG, then both sets would shine if they just gave it a power-up set.
Do you think Dal Segno would have been as good without the Capo cards like Playing in the Creek or the horror movie counter?
People are just gonna they're gonna get something like that. I think every set so far has gotten some type of rest counter or anti-damage counter, sack counter. Every set has gotten one since Nisekoi was released, or not Nisekoi, maybe to TLR.
I'm pretty sure like not every set has gotten one.
Majority of the sets have. I think TLR, since TLR, everything has gotten like a rest counter
Because Niver definitely didn't get one.
Oh, okay. But they got Katsuhira. That's like a totally different story. They got Katsuhira, man.
Trying to think of what's come out recently.
Let's see. One came out before Kiss Niver, just Kantai 3, right? And Kantai got
Kantai is Compass.
Kantai got Compass, yeah. CG they got Compass and they got rest counter.
They had the rest counter, but I mean like they got the new Compass. All right. Well, I mean like, okay. Well, that's not the point. That's not the point. All right. I think we're pretty much done though.
Yeah, I think we're good with this for this week.
All right. So until next week, this has been Peshcats here with Neel, and we'll see you next time. Bye.